Hi, I'm Heather with Rental Property U. Today's question from the internet comes from Colorado, and it is, what local landlord-tenant laws and regulations do I need to understand before I buy? They said new investors often underestimate how much local rules impact profitability. Things like notice requirements, security deposit limits, eviction timelines, lease language, short-term rental restrictions, city-specific licensing. Understanding the legal landscape upfront prevents expensive mistakes later. For example, the state of Colorado, the state says you only need to accept Section 8 if you have 5 or more rentals, but different counties trump this. Okay. Yeah, great question. That is, illegal stuff is always something that creates risk if you don't know it. So as a first-time investor, how would you know that? Well, one idea I have is, and suggestion I make to people outside of my market, which is Dallas-Fort Worth, when they want to buy rentals, is if they don't know who to work with yet, then you can go to the National Association of Property Managers, NARPM, NARPM is the acronym. And you can look up in your area who a residential property manager is. It stands for National Association of Residential Property Managers. You can look up like who a property manager is in your area. Typically, almost always, property managers, residential property managers are going to know the laws because they're dealing with them all the time. Plus, chances are they help rental property investors buy and sell. So they're going to have an understanding of what areas can work well with what your goals are. So you're going to want to, attach yourself and tie with someone that knows that local market and has the experience of working in that local market for a while. And that would be ideal. And you would ask them questions like this when you qualify them and interview them. But if you're already working with a realtor and they're not like a specialized property manager, and I say property manager because there's no association or way to garner who is a rental property investor, real estate agent. Because if you ask them, sometimes they'll just say yes. And you can ask to see like examples of deals that they've done to help validate what they're saying. But this is just one extra layer that says, okay, these people are aligned enough with their business category to join an association that is named after their category. So there's an extra layer of like, if somebody wasn't a property manager, could they still join the National Association of Residential Property Managers? Yes. But why would they pay to be a member? Why would they take time to set up a profile? Why would they have that ongoing? And so, you just kind of got to you still could get taken, but it reduces the odds. And you're still going to call this person and interview them and ask them questions so you can validate if they are the right fit for you, if they have the experience that you're looking for, if they work in the market area that you're interested in working in. Now, I will say, so I was saying, if you're already working with a real estate agent, then now that you know this is a possible risk, potentially, I'm in Texas, so we don't really have those kind of laws like Colorado does. There's states that are more landlord-friendly and there's states that are more tenant-friendly. Colorado is more tenant-friendly. Now, parts of Dallas are more tenant-friendly. Parts of Austin are more tenant-friendly. Like Texas as a whole is a landlord-friendly state. But it depends on what little area that you're in, what little sect that you're in, what city that you're in. So it just, the thing about real estate, you got to remember the number one rule in real estate is location, location, location. That predicates and encourages value. So it's kind of the same rule that applies to when you're making decisions on where you're going to buy. Location is extremely specific. Town ordinances, city ordinances, yes, state laws, but it's very specific, and you have to kind of know what market you're buying in. That's the thing about this business. It's much more localized. Like if you were to buy a stock on the stock market, or a mutual fund or something like that. This is a very localized business, so you have to understand the game you're playing, and it is good to be aware of these things. Now I'm going to flip the side of the coin on the other end. Don't let these things hold you up, okay? Because the key to getting ahead is truly getting started. And that's just the truth. And so if you knew everything, you wouldn't begin, because this business is a lot. And you are starting a business. This isn't just an investment. Part of the business is an investment, but this is a business. This is an active people business. So you're always going to be involved in your business. Anytime you buy a business where you're dealing with people and turnover, renewals with the people, you're always going to have an active role. Okay. If you want a business that is very passive, truly passive, this is not it. This is simply not it. You can outsource your real estate agent. You can outsource your property manager. You are still going to be involved when it comes to approving new tenants, and when it comes to make-readies, when it comes to renegotiating leases. They'll do the paperwork, but you're going to be making the decision. And so you will be active in this business. That's the truth. That is the truth. And if nobody's told you that yet, that is the truth. That is the truth. So, the thing is, if you let questions like this hold you back because you don't have all the information, and you'll never have all the information. I don't even have all the information. I don't even have all the information. Nobody has all the information. Warren Buffett doesn't even have all the information. So the reality is you're never going to have all the information. So if you buy the house and you hire the property manager from NARPM and you follow this advice to a T, this could still happen where an ordinance comes up, because guess what? Ordinances change. And also that property manager might be doing it for 20 years, might be managing properties in that area, but maybe that neighborhood has specific HOA guidelines that got missed. Now, usually those get caught when you have the due diligence period, but it could happen. It could happen. Things move quick. There's a lot of information being processed. There's a lot of clients that they work with. There's a lot of questions that you have. There's a lot of just a lot of moving parts to this. So it could happen. So my advice to you is you're going to do your due diligence as best you can. You're going to trust but verify what you learn and the information even I'm providing. You're going to trust what I'm saying as a specialist, as an expert, but you're going to verify it for yourself, because this is blanket information. Some might not even apply to you. Some of this might not even be a concern of yours. This question was brought up clearly by someone that had this pain or heard the horror story or got spooked by the what if. So yes, it's not invalid. It's valuable. It's valid, but it doesn't mean it's your problem. It doesn't mean this is something that needs to take root in you to hold you back from getting started, because the key to getting ahead is getting started. So it's like, you just got to do your best to get all your questions answered. You got to do your best to get the right information and work with the right team, which is key, which will help guide you through a majority of the internet questions that I answer, to be honest. And working with the right team is not that hard. It usually starts with the realtor who specializes in rental property investing, or the property manager who sometimes is also the realtor and the leasing agent. Sometimes that person is the same person. It just depends on your market. It just depends on who you're working with. But usually that person connects you with your lender, connects you with the title company. They connect you with finding the right property. They connect you with the inspector. They connect you with the insurance company. They connect you with the tax attorney. They connect you with all the people. Usually they're the middle of the wheel, usually. So not all people start with the realtor, and that's not wrong. You can go about it that way. But if you want to keep it simple, and you haven't started yet, go to National Association of Property Managers and see if there's a few realtor or property managers that catch your eye, or even one. Pick up the phone and call them. And if they don't answer, if there's a cell phone number, text them, because they might get, listen, we as realtors get so many spam calls a day. It is so frustrating because the phone is our lifeline to new leads, new business. But when you get 12 spam calls a day, and I'm not exaggerating, Our information is public, and call centers and marketers buy the lists and they spam us all day. And it is awful. It is awful. That's a whole nother topic that burns me up because it hurts the consumer, really, because then realtors, we just can't keep the pace of answering the phone when that many times we answer it, it's spam. So most of the time, the phone just goes to voicemail. Okay. And then with anybody that's busy, okay, anybody that's like moving and shaking, they just can't answer the phone that much. So if it goes to voicemail, you can leave a voicemail, but really what's best, if you really want to get a hold of someone, you use something called the triple threat. This is how we do it in sales. So you're going to call, you can leave a voicemail. So I rarely return mine, sorry, but I don't. Or I would, if there's a way to text them, if it's not like an office line or a 1-800 number that's on NARPM, text them. Just follow it up with immediate text. Hi, I'm so-and-so. I just left you a voicemail. I wanted to text you in case text would be easier for you to communicate with. I know you're probably busy. Looking forward to hearing back today or tomorrow to chat with you. I'm a potential new client looking for a realtor to help me buy a rental property. Thank you. And then you can email them if there's a third way. And I would immediately follow it up with an email. If there's an email on the NARPM website, and it's narpm.org, by the way, you would just go and email them and say the same thing. I just left you a message. I just texted you, and I'm sending you an email in case that's the best way to get a hold of you. And you would just repeat what you said in the text. In the text, I mentioned that I am looking to buy a rental property in this area. I'm not from there. I found you on NARPM. Oh, that's another thing to say in your voicemail and your text message. I found you on NARPM. Let them know where you found them. That helps us validate if you're legit or you're not, if you're spam or you're not. Because if you reference something specific where also they kind of know that's a lead source for them, or they think it's possible that it's a true lead source for them, because we get spammed all day. So these call centers are so creative on how they try to trick us to take the bait to call them back or answer the call or respond to the text. They're very sneaky. And so we're kind of discerning all day, is this a real lead or not? And so if you're like, my name's Bob, I'm from California, I'm from San Francisco, I found you on NARPM, the National Association of Residential Property Managers, found your information there. I'm looking for a real estate professional real estate agent that specializes in rental property investing to help me buy a rental property. This is my first one. This is my second one. This is my third one, whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm just looking for someone that knows the area and can help me. I would love to chat with you today or tomorrow to see if we're a possible fit. Thank you. So that's called a triple threat. And if you hit them all three of those ways, chances are they're going to reach back out. That's what I do to get things done, to get people to respond to me, to let people know it's legit, and to get it done more on my timeline. I don't want to wait for someone to get back to me, whatever, on off chance they hear a voicemail. So use the triple threat. It's very effective. It's how I get a lot of things done when I want to pursue something that I want to pursue. So that's what I would do. And just remember, if still you go through all these steps and you find yourself in an ordinance situation, because again, either whatever, something got slipped by or ordinances change, you just have to remember that when you started and made the decision to go into this business, because before you went into this business, I know you did your research because you were able and willing. That's the only way you could have closed on your rental property. You were able and willing, which means you did your research, you were prepared. This isn't an overnight decision. This takes time to actually transact, to actually execute. So you couldn't have gone to bed on a Tuesday and woke up on a Wednesday and closed on a real estate piece. It doesn't work like that. You could do that by buying a stock or a crypto, but you can't do it when acquiring real estate. It's not that quick. So you have to go through the process. Through the process, that is when you're confirming, well, Usually you've already confirmed you're going to do it before you start the process. That's ideal for you and everybody you work with. Why go through the roller coaster of this, which is what it is, and it's going to cost you incredible time and some money to not do it. See, that's not what professionals do. That's what amateurs do. And I know I'm speaking to a professional. That's why you're doing your research and your due diligence before you begin. However, once you make a decision that you're going to execute and you're able and willing, then we already know you've done your research. You're out of discovery stage. You're out of the questions of all the fear. You're over that. You've made a decision that this is the business you're going to start. And once you do that, then you have to accept that you're not going to know everything. And you have to accept that it's going to be things that come up that happen to you that didn't happen to your friend, or didn't happen to the podcast that you're listening to, or didn't happen to an article you read. And you're going to want to have a tendency to cloak on comparison. And I would just argue and urge you to not do that, because you're running your own race. And the reality is there's going to be things you didn't expect. And the sooner you can accept those and take them as lessons, the sooner you're going to have a much more incredible time in this incredible business. But if you don't do that, it's going to be miserable. It's going to not be enjoyable. You're going to have a lot of self-deprecation. You're going to be angry with XYZ. You're going to blame others. But the reality is nobody knows everything. And there's a lot of things to know in this business. So you mitigate and minimize the risk by hiring the right team, starting with the real estate agent, who is probably the property manager and the leasing agent if you find someone on NARPM. And then you accept the decision that you've made, and the people that you've hired, you accept that decision because that was your decision to hire them. And then you stick with that, and you hold firm to the fact that you made the best decision you could at the best time with the best information, and that's it. And then you enjoy the ride, friend. You enjoy the ride. Okay? Amen. All right. Well, hopefully this was helpful, and we'll see you next time.